Hi, how are you? Welcome to a new video of Cambridge IELTS reading. In this video, I will tell you about the tips and tricks of the IELTS reading test. After watching this video and doing a lot of practice at home, I am sure that you will be able to get 8 or 9 banks in the real IELTS reading test. Our today's topic is complete the summary. In this video, I will tell you that how can you complete the summary, how can you find the similar words from the passage, how can you find the clue words. After finding the similar words and the clue words, it will become very easy for you to complete this part of the test. So today we are going to solve from question number 33 to 40 of the IELTS reading test. So let's go to the papers and try to solve this part of the test. So visit means go, and Canadian Arctic is an area. The writer is saying that if you go to the Canadian Arctic, which is an area, you immediately appreciate the problems faced by people for whom this is home. You will immediately appreciate. It means that you will at once recognize the problems faced by the people. So we can say that whenever you visit the Canadian Arctics, you will at once recognize the problems of the people who are living there. It would clearly be impossible for the people. So the word impossible is the main word. It would be clearly impossible for the people to engage in. The word engage in means keep themselves busy. So the word engage in means keep themselves busy in any field, keep themselves busy in any activity. And next is the question. So we got a clue that the answer of the question number 3 will be any activity or any field. And the second clue is that as a means of supporting themselves. So means source. So we can say that particular activity may be a source of living for the people of that area. It would clearly be impossible for the people to engage in as a means of supporting themselves. It means that it is not possible for the people who are living there to keep themselves busy in any activity, which is the answer of the question number 33. And that activity is a source of their living. So we have to find an activity which is not possible for them to keep on, and that activity is also a source of their life, source of their living. So let's try to find the answer of this question. Paragraph B and D. The Canadian Arctic is a vast, treeless polar desert that covered with the snow. Treeless polar desert that covered with snow for most of the year. So these are the hardships of the Canadian Arctic. Venture into the terrain and you get some idea of the hardships. It means that whenever you go to this area, you will realize the hardships of the people facing anyone who calls this home. So the word anyone is related to the word people. Venture into this terrain and you get some idea of the hardships facing anyone who calls this home. So we can say that whenever you go to the Canadian Arctic, you will realize the problems of the people who are living there. Farming is out of question. Farming is the out of question. Farming is the main point. Farming is an activity, is out of question. It means that you can't do farming there. You can't do this activity. So we got the idea that the activity which we have to mention as the answer of question number 33 is farming, and that farming is also a source of living for them. So here we have to write the word farming. So next, for thousands of years, for the world, thousands of the years, there may be the word for many years, for 8,000 years, for 5,000 years, or 10,000 years. So we have to keep in mind that such type of words may be written in the paragraph. For thousands of years they have, so the word they is mentioning towards the people who are living in the Arctic. They have had to rely on catching. Rely on means dependent. Depend on. Rely on means depend on. For thousands of years, they have had to depend on catching. So here the word catching is given. So the similar meaning of catching may be hunting. So for thousands of years, they had to rely on catching. Question number 34 and question number 35 as a means of sustenance. Means source, and sustenance means to keep their life on, for their existence. So for thousands of years they have had to rely on catching. Fill in the blanks, question number 34 and question number 35 as a means of sustenance. It means that for thousands of years they have to depend on hunting or catching on two things which we have to mention here after reading the passage, as a means of source and means of sustenance, and these two things were a source of their existence. So let's go to the paragraph C and D. Farming is out of question and nature offers meager pickings. Human first settled in the Arctic a mere 4,500 years ago. 4,500 years ago. So 4,500 years ago is written for thousands of years. Surviving by exploiting sea mammals and fish. So we have got the answer of this question, that 4,500 years ago, the people who were living in the Arctic, they were living or they were dependent on two things, and these two things were mammals and fish. So in question number 34, we can write the word mammals And for the question number 35, we can write fish. The harsh surroundings. Harsh surrounding means severe environment. So many who tried. So word who is written here. So it means that who represents the people. The harsh surroundings, so many people try to settle there, push to their limits. It means that the hard environment or severe environment of the Arctic has witnessed many people who try to live there, push to their limits, but the harsh environment beat them. Although some were successful, it means that some of people became successful. The people were an example of the latter. So the article "the" is written before a blank. So we got an idea that a specific noun must be written here. So because the article "the" is written here, so the fill in the blank people. So we got the second idea that in the blank we can write the name of any tribe, because the name of the tribe is also a specific noun. The people were an example of their letter. Letter means the people, the community, the tribe who came before the tribe we have to mention here. So we can say that letter means ancestors. And for them, the environment did not prove unmanageable. And for them, the environment did not prove unmanageable. For those people, environment didn't do anything, or those people were ready to face the hard realities of environment, or the people carry on their life, although the environment was very harsh. So the environment tested them to the limits. Sometimes the colonists were successful, sometimes they failed and vanished. But around 1,000 years ago, one group emerged that was uniquely well adapted to cope with the Arctic environment. These Thule people moved in from Alaska, bringing kayaks, sleds, dogs, pottery, and iron tools. They are the ancestors of today's Inuit people. So the environment tested them to limits. Sometimes the colonists were successful, sometimes they failed and vanished. But around 1,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago, one group emerged. One group means a tribe of people emerged that was uniquely well adapted to cope with Arctic environment. It means that one group emerged 1,000 years ago who was ready to face the hard environment of the Arctic. These Thule people moved in from Alaska. These mean the group of people. And the name of that group of people is Thule. So we can write the word Thule for the question number 36. For the present inhabitants, life continues to be a struggle. The territory of Nunavut consists of little more than ice, rock, and a few. So the territory means area, and Nunavut is the name of the area. Consists of little more than, consists of ice, rock, and a few. So we have to find the third thing except ice and rock. The territory of Nunavut consists of little more than ice, rock, and a few. So ice is mentioned, rock is mentioned here, and the third thing is not mentioned. So we have to find the third one. Life for the descendants of the Tule people is still harsh. Nunavut is 1.9 million square kilometers of rock and ice and a handful of islands around the North Pole. Nunavut is 1.9 million square kilometers of rock. It means that Nunavut consists of rock and ice and a handful of islands. So the word a handful is written for the word a few, and after the word handful of is written islands, so we can write the word island here. In recent years is the main word. So whenever we will read the passage, there must be written past 20 years, past 40 years, something like that. Many of them means many people of the tribe have been obliged to give up. Obliged means ready. Give up means leave, abandoned. In the recent years, you can say that in the past 50 years, in the past 20 years, many of the people of this tribe were ready to abandon their lifestyle. So the answer of the question number 38 must be the kind of lifestyle, the way they were spending their life. It's currently home to 2,500 people, all but a handful of them indigenous Inuit, over the past 40 years. So over the past 40 years is written for the word in recent years. Over the past 40 years, most have. So the word most have is written for the word most of them. So most have or many of them means the number of people. Have abandoned their nomadic ways and settled in the territories, 28 isolated communities, but they still rely heavily on nature to provide food and clothing. Abandoned means leave or give up. Many of them have been obliged to give up their lifestyle. So the lifestyle is nomadic, and the word ways is also written here. So word ways represents the word lifestyle, the way the people used to lead their life. In recent years, many of them have been obliged to give up their nomadic lifestyle. Nomadic lifestyle. It means that many of people were ready to abandon their nomadic ways of living. But they continue to depend mainly on. But is the main word. But they continue to depend. Depend means rely on. But they continue to rely mainly on for their food and clothes. It means the people of that tribe continue to depend on a thing which must be a known, and from that thing they get food and clothes. The word known must be written here because the word on is written before the blank. But they still rely. So here is the word rely is written, and here is the word depend is written. But they still rely heavily on nature to provide food and clothing. The word food is written and clothing is also written, and they rely on nature. So answer of the question number 38 is nature. Question number 40. Produce is particularly expensive. Expensive means costly. It means that produce means things are very expensive. So we have to find which things were very expensive. Provisions available in local shops. Provisions means things we get from the shops, are the things we carry through the ships from one country to another country to provide to the people of any country, and we can get those things from the shops. Provisions available in local shops. So word provision means stock, things of the use of daily life. Provisions available in local shops have to be flown in Nunavut on one of the most costly air networks. It means that the things which they were able to get from the shops, they were very expensive, and the reason why they were expensive because of the heavy freight bills of the transportation. Are brought by supply ship. These were brought by ship during the few ice-free weeks of summer. It would cost means expensive. It would cost a family around 7,000 pounds a year. It would cost a family around 7,000 a year. It means that every family have to bear the expenses of 7,000 a year to buy the things of daily use to replace meat they obtained themselves through hunting with imported meat. So we can say that those people who ready to buy the things brought by ships from another country, and their cost was about 7,000 a year, and these things were actually replacing those things which they themselves used to get by hunting the animals or fishing. So we got the idea that the word provision is written here, And second thing is that it would cost a family around 7,000 a year. So the word it indicates the word provision. So the word provision will be written here. Provision.